Alright, so welcome to part 3 of my camper trailer build. Now what we've been doing so far, we're modifying, or not so much modifying, we're making a camper trailer system that can slot into this. It is entirely removable and it folds up. You'll get to see that in a moment. Or you can watch the other two videos. Now today's job is to put mesh on the end, or fly screen, and to make a skirt to keep the water off both ends. Other than that, the exterior is largely done. I'm going to design some curtains today and whatever else I manage to do. And it's actually, for a change, still and sunny, which is good for this project. It's a little on the warm side for me, but tomorrow is going to be 38 Celsius and I have multiple sclerosis, which is influenced by the heat. So tomorrow is off the table as far as doing this. And I'm running out of time before Christmas to get this done, and we intend to be camping and testing this over Christmas. Later on, it's going to be, we're going to do this, a military vehicle gathering called the Corowa Swim-In, going up to that in March, which is probably where we'll use this in anger. So yeah, let's get this hitched up to my vehicle so I can use the winch to pull it up instead of doing it by hand rope. Right, alright, so we're hitched up. My apprentice has brought out some curtain material. The next step is we take this canvas off and we'll link up to our winch up here, use our remotes, and we'll pull the first wall up. This here is demonstrating how we get the ropes off the rope loops. I'm doing a pretty good job. Okay, so the next step, we've taken off our two reinforcing bars and thrown them on the ground. And this is going to be used for two purposes. The main purpose is to put that as a strut when we disconnect it. The next step will be is taking this steel bar off and the ladder. But this will also serve to slot in here to hold the back wall up, because there's only one of me today.
Got it.
Okay, let's help the apprentice here. Now my apprentice is doing the filming for me at the moment. So apprentice, point the camera up, move your fingers out of the way, there you go. Now point the camera up and point at Daddy. Righto, so my apprentice is doing the filming here, so we're going to wind up the back wall here, if I've got this the right way. Here you go.
Uh-oh.
There you go. Coming all the way up. There we go, and the first wall's up.
Whoa!
Okay, apprentice, how are we going? All right, we're in the half setup configuration. This piece of wood out here, I'm about to make a modification that might help this.
Yeah.
And my apprentice is having fun too. So this is the first wall up, second wall comes up, and then this bar off the top of the trailer will insert into a clip top and bottom here. So let's get this bar modified and get the second wall. The idea here, if my apprentice lets go, was to drill a hole through this so I can drop this pin through and stop it from getting loose in the worst case scenario. But my spade bits are all hiding in under here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in the way I have done whilst I'm building this. Once I get my spade bits out, then I'll do the modification. Alright, we're in the one person configuration here. This is how I temporarily hold the back wall up until I put that main support beam in, which I'm going to right now before anything gets worse, or before I trip over it and somebody gets hurt. Alright, so this bar, which is normally over the top of the trailer, is now over the top, and that forms our ridge line. So the next step will be to get out my tension ropes and hang them around the side and put the canvas up on the roof, along with the two bars along the side here, which you'll see in a moment. This bit's a bit tricky and it's getting a little hot in the sun, so I want to get this roof on. So we're going to skip a few steps and show you afterwards. So we're inside and these two bars are up, and you know to have window locks in here. I'm going to replace them for pad bolts or something like that. Only these two ones need to drop down in order for it to fold up, and we've got a hook here to hold the top of the canvas or the top of the tarps. The next step is to put cross bracing in, which we made an adjustment. Originally these were facing that way and it interfered with the folding, so they're now off to the side. So we're going to put our cross bracing up now. Alright, so the cross bracing's in and I'm starting to sweat, which means it won't be long and I'm going to start seeing some symptoms of MS, so I need to get this roof on pronto. Alright, so we have the roof on, which is ironically the canvas that fits over the top of the trailer. I need to work out, I'll probably make a couple of extra straps for this corner because things aren't quite straight. I've sacrificed one or two to make room for the doorway, but I'll figure that out later. But anyway, the roof is on. That then means I can go and measure up my curtain rails along here, and I can measure up some fly screen for this. We're inside again, and there's a bit of backing music as provided by my apprentice, but we're into measuring up the width for our curtains, and I have this old green, or actually it's a brand new but very cheap green single bed sheet. So we're going to cut this to length, or to length I guess, and from there we're going to sew some little loops on it to compensate for the rods that it's got to go through. So we'll get going with that. I'm going to mark it. I don't have my wax marker, but I'm not too worried about aesthetics, so we're going to use permanent marker instead. But let's get cracking. Alright, sewing machine failures aside, I have myself some curtains with some hanging threads apparently. Far from my best attempt at sewing, and I think I've got the tension adjustment on that sewing machine way out of whack as well. But anyway, this should work for now. If it does work, I've got enough material, I can get a professional to do the job for me. But for now, we'll get out of the glare and we'll put our curtains up. Alright, so the curtains are up. And I'm far enough away that you can't see how dodgy my stitching is. I didn't bother pinning any of this before I started, so my lines are pretty horrible, but the principle works. We have a curtain. I'll probably pin it out and measure everything out and do it properly later. But we should be able to just slide this along. I've cut this dowel a smidgen short, so I'll probably just cut another one the right length. But we can slide all this across. Usually easier with two hands, but yeah, it slides open. And this being the problem with the dowel being slightly short. So I'll cut myself another one about 10mm longer. But it should work. Okay, so after the curtains have been done, we've done the fly screen. And this will, when we fold it down and fold it back up again, this will end up tucking down between the two and getting a bit of grip and holding in there. But we have a nice fly screen to stop the mosquitoes and midges and whatnot coming through. Hopefully this stops midges. They might squeeze through, but I think repellent will probably help fill that gap. But I've just been through with a staple gun, stapled this stuff on. Doesn't need to hold a lot of pressure. So I'm going to go around the other side and do that one too. Alright, so several hours have passed and I've been in the air conditioner. If my camera work is a little shaky, it's because I'm all a bit shaky. I've pushed a bit too hard today. But I've got the skirts on and I've got the fly screen on underneath. They're just held on with staples, and I'll run a bead of quality duct tape around like this stuff in a little bit, if I've got enough left on the roll. I've left the corners here on. It saves some work, but the flap also allows me to just keep a bit of that rain from blowing into that corner. I'm hoping in the weather it doesn't blow too much in there. But yeah, I think worst case scenario I can whack a bit of duct tape over there. But this needs to be able to fold up in order to pack the whole unit up. But I guess worst case, I've left these loops on. I can probably put a bit of paracord between the two, and that'll work as a short-term solution. The back one is also taped on. For people who are worried about this blowing up like this, when it's in situ, I've got these ropes holding that down from the top. But that should all be able to fold up like that when the back wall folds down. And it should be all good. So a bit of duct tape and I'll be ready for the hose test. That and a little bit of foam tape to fill up the gap on the door here. But we're nearly done.